people often prioritize the exterior instead of the interior work first, but I would hope a client would come in on the axis of a transformation, but I would teach them that the real transformation is going to come from within, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the numbers on the scales or the way they look on the outside.
So you are known for your sometimes controversial, candid perspectives.
The post was not received well in any whatsoever shape or form. I got so much hate for it. It was on radio stations. There was comedians taking fun of me, like literally being pulled to shred. I was getting death threats. It blew out to the most astronomically huge thing ever. And at that time, I was already crumbling, and having that amount of hate, and you just don't realize sometimes you have to get so lost in life to really find who you are as a person. One of the biggest things that I could ever encourage any human is never settle for mediocrity. Recognize that mediocrity does not have to be your narrative.
Today's guest is a vibrant force in the world of fitness, mindset, and personal transformation. With a background in law, she transitioned from academia to entrepreneurship, launching a successful personal training business and later excelling as a content strategist and brand leader. Today, as the founder of Feel Good Naked Co., she is redefining wellness by transforming lives from the inside out. Through her innovative 40-day online programs that combine movement with nutrition and mindset coaching, she inspires clients to break through their limitations, build muscle, and reshape both body and mind. Henny Moody, welcome to Not So Status Quo.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad that you came up from the Gold Coast for this.
Look, there's certain things that I will take the trek from Gold Coast to Brisbane and battle the traffic for, and this is one of them.
Thank you. So good. Now, you and I met a couple of months ago. We were at a favourite hotel of ours in Byron Bay, and we spoke for maybe like half an hour. But in that half an hour, I think we had some really good conversation, and I knew that I wanted to have more of a conversation with you. So here we are.
I think that your partner probably took from that conversation that Adelaide has serial killers, because we somehow ended up in a very deep conversation about the serial killers of South Australia. I'm not sure how we got there, but it was a good conversation.
So I like to start with a question. If you could give your current life chapter a title, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That's hard. My current life chapter would probably be the comeback is greater than the setback, is if I was really going to dial it down. I think for me, where I'm at in terms of my life, I feel that like anyone, you're on your hero's journey is what I like to call it. And I think that everybody is on their own different part of their hero's journey. For me, I've allowed in the past a lot of setbacks hold me back from harnessing my true potential and stepping into who I really want to be and what I want to achieve. And I think instead of that holding me back, I'm using them as lessons and fuel for my fire to come back even stronger and harder. So it just takes time and reflection sometimes to realize exactly what you want in life. Those hard moments, those things that you think like, why me? It's so hard. It's me versus the universe. Everything has to happen the way that it happens in life so it can happen the way that it is. And I think for me, that reflection and time, and now when the puzzle pieces are now falling in place in such a synergistic, amazing way, I'm so glad I went through all of those different hards to get to where I am at the moment. So yeah, we're on that stage of the hero's journey.
I love that. And I feel like a lot of people listening today would be feeling similarly.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about reflection, because I think reflection is such an important thing to do in life, especially when we're trying to create a life that really, truly lights us up.
Yeah.
So with that said then, take us back to the beginning. Tell us about young Henny, young Henrietta.
Yeah.
What did she want to be when she got older? Did she know what she wanted to be?
You know, it's funny when I was thinking about that question and I thought, I had no idea when I was a kid. And I think that that's a really difficult thing for most adults, that there's some people in life who fall into things that they love. They're super passionate from a really young age, that they are amazingly talented at it. And it's a real linear path for a lot of people, it really is a really clear linear path. I was the type of person / I am the type of person that I've really battled always, that I have been good at a lot of random things, and it's like a man of many talents and master of none is what I always felt like. And I felt like, but I like this and I like that, and I'm good at this, or I'm like really good at that I could have gone down so many different paths in my life. And I think when I was younger, I had no idea. Like I went into uni and I was only doing my law degree because my mum and dad said, get a degree and then go and be whoever you want to be in life. And I didn't know who I wanted to be. I didn't know what degree I wanted to do. I had a great TER. And so my sister was doing law and I thought, okay, like I'll just do a law degree because why not? Like that will set me up for success. But I started off even with a double degree of law international studies. And I remember I was sitting in this politics shoot and I was like, what am I doing in here? I was listening to these people talk about political matters and I was like, this is not my place. These are not my people. And I felt like that for most of my law degree, but there was elements that I loved about it. And so I think for me, I stuck in it and I held on for that because I wanted to complete it and I wanted to finish the degree. But I still had no idea for most of my degree what I was doing there.
Yeah. I can somewhat relate to that as well. And I really want to come back to talking about your law degree because I found that so interesting that you've had quite a big pivot away from law into doing what you're currently doing.
Yes.
Did you have any passions or interests in particular as a kid? Like, is there anything that you just loved to do?
There was only one thing that I ever thought, yes, this is what I could be.
Yeah.
I grew up in the film industry with my dad. He was a lighting director for film and television shows. So I grew up on film sets my whole entire life. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't really want to be doing anything on that side of things. But in year 12, I was doing drama. I was a real artsy kid. Like I loved creative outlets. When I did drama, I chose to do set design. And that was a really cool opportunity. And I built this incredible set. And I was like, I want to be a set designer. I want to be a creator, I think. And my dad was like, you don't want to be in the film industry. It's so hard. Like it's an absolute slog. And so from a very early age, I think I knew that I wanted to be a creator, but I didn't know what creativity that looks like for me. Yeah. I think that now I reflect back what I've gone through in my path in terms of creating and loving it. It wasn't clear at the time, but it's always been clear that I was a creator and that I wanted to have that sort of influence and that sort of impact. So
tell me about your law degree. So you fell into it.
Yes.
You studied in Adelaide.
Yes.
You studied that for a number of years. And then straight after your law degree, you got into fitness. Tell me about the reaction from those around you.
Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting pivot for me, I think, because in general, my whole entire childhood hated sport. I was so unfair. I pretended to have asthma to get out of PE. I was the type of kid that never enjoyed exercise, never wanted a part of it. My friend invited me to a boxing class and I loved it. I was terrible at it. I absolutely loved it though. And that was the first time that I'd fallen in love with exercise. And I went from that to going into high intensity, really, really loved like the movement. I liked that I was pushing myself. And I think for me, it was always more so the mental connection that I could see the correlation of being able to push myself into discomfort with physical exercise, which made that I was more robust in the outside world. And so it was never about exercise for body aesthetics or goals like that drew me in. It was for the love of that. And when I was studying, doing my law degree, man, I had some jobs when I was doing my law degree. I was in there I ended up being like 6 years because I ended up doing so many different jobs and electives. And I was just one of those people who I didn't really know. Like I was a flight attendant in the midst of it. Like I tried a little bit of everything because I had no idea what I wanted to be. And I would highly recommend if you're not sure what you want to do in life and you're like throw mud at the wall and see what sticks. And that was literally me. When I started falling in love with exercise, I became a receptionist at a gym. I was working on the desk and I fell in love with the fact that people would come into the gym and they'd be deflated and not feeling good and really flat. And they came out of their sessions lit up and inspired and excited and motivated. And I could see this switch within people. And I was like, I want to make people feel that good. Like I want to be able to have the power to
that
make people
rush, that high.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about the physical. It was that they had an outlet to a person and the bonds that they were creating with these coaches that it wasn't just about the training. It was always about the mental side of things. And I think that's been the anchor of my whole entire career, that it's always been so much deeper than the physical side, that it's all to do about the mental game. So that's when I started like, you know what, I'm going to do my certifications. I am going to become a personal trainer. Yep. Everything sort of grew from that point. I guess for my family and for everybody around me, my mom and dad are the most supportive, incredible humans. They are the biggest Disney dreamers of them all and have always encouraged us to be and do whatever we want to be in life. And there's literally nothing in life that we can't do. And yes, they wanted us to have education because, you know, they didn't finish year 12. They didn't have that opportunity. And they were like, we want our kids to go and study. My sister has a law degree as well. Like she's a writer now too, like an incredible like author. She's so, so talented. And we're both in a really creative area, but mum and dad just really wanted us to get that base, I guess, and that, I guess, always something that we could fall back onto if something didn't go to plan.
Yeah.
So very supportive.
Did you feel any pressure because you had spent 6 years doing the law degree?
Yeah.
Did you feel pressure at all to pursue it?
Never.
I know, like, amazing.
Yeah.
So one of my degrees is exercise science. I did 4 years, but
wow.
and it's funny because a lot of what you're saying, I'm like, oh, the parallels.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I thought I was trying to be an exercise and sports psychologist.
Wow.
Of which I am not.
Yeah.
I remember feeling moments of like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I was very clear on what I did and didn't want to do. But I know a lot of people will stay in jobs or stay in a university degree that doesn't light them up because they feel like it's a waste.
I think that's the majority of people are staying in professions that make them miserable in life. And I would say that majority of people that are listening to this podcast who are in a job that they hate, but they feel obliged to stay into because they have financial burdens, because they have the guilt of like, I've spent a decade doing something like this. Like, I don't want it to go to waste. But I think that goes for all things in life. You look at people staying in relationships where they are so disconnected and so not aligned to that, but they feel that they have to stay because they've got children or because they're married or they're worried about what their friends will think or what their family will think, or maybe they feel afraid of the unknown, so they stay there. And I think that complacency is the quickest way to the most miserable existence. And one of the biggest things that I could ever encourage any human is never settle for mediocrity. Like, that is the only way out of your circumstances, is to recognize that mediocrity does not have to be your narrative. It does not have to be your future. And if you're not happy with your circumstances, there is only one person that can control that. And there's only one person that can get you out of those circumstances. So be that person for yourself.
I completely agree. I find that a lot of the women that I talk to with my work that I do, there's a lot of fear.
Yes.
The fear of the unknown, which we spoke about briefly earlier.
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown, fear of disappointing others, feeling like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders, that their family, their friends, our society says that things should be happening in a particular timeline.
Particularly for women.
Exactly. We're in our 30s.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure that
the clock.
Exactly.
The clock doesn't exist for me, to be honest. And I think that a lot of people they fall into lives that they're not meant to. Yeah. And even for me, which I was in a relationship for 10 years, I was engaged to this person, incredible human. I don't have anything malice to say about them, but I was 19 when I got with him and I was a very different person. And he wanted a white picket fence and someone to settle down and to have kids and to bring up the kids and give his family the things that he was brought up with, which absolutely, I'm never going to dilute the fact that that's an incredible life for so many people. And if that's something that makes you feel like that's my greater purpose, then absolutely out of that. But for me, I just knew deep down that wasn't my path. I knew that I had so much more to give to the world and I wanted to achieve and do so many things. And I'm never going to say never to kids and settling down and things, but I think for me, it's not ever been a priority for children or for that sort of life. Adelaide is like a small town, right? Like it very much is a country mindset where that is the linear path for a lot of people. You settle down, you marry an accountant, you have the kids, you take them to the private schools, you go to a shopping centre and have coffee at Chibo. Like there's a real linear path.
Yeah.
Like I love my Adelaide friends, but a lot of them live that life and they're so happy and so fulfilled, but that just wasn't the life for me. And that's why I broke out of Adelaide and I went fighting for it and broke off the relationships and took these massive leaps of fear because I knew deep down that that wasn't the path for me. And now it's my mission to make sure that other women also know that you don't have to have that fear. Well, you can have the fear, but you don't have to let it dictate your life.
100%. The synergies between our lives. I had a marriage breakdown after 11 years.
Wow.
I was with him from 18. I find a lot of women don't hold space for themselves to understand who they truly are.
Yes.
And when we hold space for ourselves and we get to know ourselves, what we value, what we desire for our life, it's almost like creating a decision-making filter that we can pass life decisions through.
Yes.
And it seems like we both came to the realization that in order to reach our full potential, that unfortunately the relationships weren't able to continue.
Well, what you're saying is bang on the head for a lot of female too, that loss of identity is so easy to happen. And I see a lot because I work with a lot of mums and bubs clients that obviously when you're giving so much to another person, it's really easy to deprioritize yourself. And somehow a week turns into a month and a month turns into a year. And before you know it, you're looking in the mirror and you don't know who that person is anymore. Now, I see that a lot in like mums and in that community. but also people who are in relationships, people that are in jobs, people who are living in places they shouldn't be living, people who have surrounded themselves in friendship circles and aligned themselves with people that they feel like an outsider with. That's going to be really, really common. And it's not an easy path to break out of, but it's not an impossible path to break out of. Yeah. And I think for anyone listening to this who's like, well, you're preaching to the choir and I feel like I'm a prisoner of my existence and I don't feel at home with myself and I just don't feel aligned. You don't have to feel that way and you don't have to expect for it to happen overnight, but feel afraid, feel terrified of the unknown and just take the leap, because like a life lived in fear is a life half lived. It is such words to live by. And when it comes down to it in your dying days, do you want to look back and be like, I am so glad that I took the risk and I took the chance? Or am I happy that I stayed in a position that I knew that wasn't aligned? Like, you get one go at this beautiful thing called life. So just don't waste a minute of it. Don't waste a second and just take the leap. It's terrifying for everybody that's gone before you. It's going to be terrifying. It's going to be hard. Like, be a realist. Like, it's not going to be an easy path, and nothing about taking fearful leaps and breaking friendships and relationships is easy. But holy wow, is it worth it on the other side?
So worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I find is really helpful for a lot of women? Our brain's job is to keep us alive and safe.
Sure.
And our brain likes familiar discomfort rather than potential unfamiliar comfort.
Yeah.
And so when we think about stepping into the unknown, we start to feel a bit anxious. We're nervous. We feel a bit overwhelmed. We're like, oh, do we actually want to do this?
Yeah.
That is actually normal. That's our brain doing its job.
100%.
So sometimes it's like, yeah, like, thanks so much, brain, for trying to keep me safe. You know what? I'm going to do this thing anyway because I want to do it. And I know that I'll be okay no matter what happens.
Yeah, I think it's like talking with your conscious versus your subconscious and having that internal conversation and being aware that you can be like, hey, subconscious, like, thanks for the alert, thanks for the alarm, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know what's best.
Exactly.
And I think what you're talking about of having that subconscious level of fear, it's important to have those, obviously. Like, the human brain is designed to have all of these mechanisms. Like, when you look back in the primate days of like a lion coming to attack you and things like that, like that, when you pull it back all the layers of the onion. But what you're talking about as well is why people refuse to grow in terms of taking control of their training and their nutrition or their routines and their habits and their structures, because it is so much easier to default to the easier option. And so when the option is to sit on the couch and mindlessly scroll on social media, or to go out and to get your ass up and go and work out, obviously people are always going to choose the easier options. So I think what's important for people to recognize and to realize, it shouldn't be easy. If you want to have an incredible, abundant life, it's not meant to be easier. And yes, you can build habits and practices that are going to make your life easier, but the path shouldn't be linear and the path shouldn't be an easy route. If it was easy, everybody would have a six-pack and $50 million in the bank. There's only a few people that have got, like, I heard someone say the statistic the other day of like six-packs is like 1% of the population. I'm like, there's a reason that it's like hard to achieve these sort of things in life.
Because growth doesn't happen in comfort zones.
No.
It sounds so cliche.
No.
It's so true.
It's so true. And I think people look at social media and they see people's highlight reels, and it is so much easier to sit on your ass and have a look at someone and say, well, they've got it so easy. They've had it given to them on a silver platter. They've had this given to them. And I'm not going to dilute for a second that there's people of privilege in life, like straight up, like if you are born into a socioeconomic room, if you are given certain linear paths in life, I'm not going to dilute that for a second, but I am going to say that even the most privileged people often are having to make really hard decisions and do really hard things to get where they want to.
So your business, Feel Good Naked Co., you have a very big emphasis on the mind and the body. Why is it so important that when working with women to help transform their lives, that you're working on both of those things?
Yeah, I think that people often prioritize the exterior instead of the interior work first. And I think that's the easiest way to set yourself up for failure in life. And I often talk about that your driving why has to be stronger than your why not. Now, if your driving why is that you just want to have a six-pack, it's not deep enough. It's not going to be the thing that's going to wake you up in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and prioritize yourself to get your ass to the gym, to meal prep before the kids wake up, to get all of the things that you need to be able to get the six-pack. So I think the most important thing for any person is when you look at the six-pack goal, let's say I want to have an amazing rig and I want to have a great body. Why is it that you want to have an incredible body? And when you pull the layers back of the onion and you get a deeper understanding of the person, the reason that they want that goal is because for years people have told them that they're not good enough, that they're not pretty enough, and that they can't do things. And they've constantly made commitments to themselves and they've declared these commitments. and then they've let themselves down and they can't follow through on a goal. So they aren't confident because they're not even confident in themselves, because they can't commit to things and they can't follow through. So you can tell that the driving why is because I want to be the type of person that makes goals in life that I can actually follow through.
Yep.
It doesn't actually have anything to do with the exterior. It doesn't have anything to do with the six packs. So it's not about looking good naked. It's about what's happening on the internal. And so when I was creating the company and the brand, I actually started off with calling it Look Good Naked. That was the original brand. And before I went live with it, I was like, no, it's not look good naked. It's feel good naked, because you can have the most incredible exterior. You can look absolutely amazing on the outside. And I know so many beautiful, incredible humans that hate themselves so deeply because they haven't done the internal work and they haven't made sure that they're looking after the inside first. And so I think for me, the brand really always had to come down to, like, you can come to me and I can give you an incredible nutrition plan and I can give you an amazing training program where it is so easy to be compliant to the program. I make it so easy that you're eating burgers, that all you have to do is a 30-minute workout a day and you're getting insane results. But I'm actually going to change the way that you look at yourself, the way that you feel about yourself, and the way that you show up to the world. And that's the most important factor of all of them, because that's going to give you a level of confidence and self-belief and self-worth that is going to be the thing that will get you up at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning and get your ass up, because you deserve it. And also you feel worthy and that you deserve the things that you want in life. I think that's so important for people to recognize that I deserve to feel and look a certain way.
So underrated as well.
So much. And I think that we live in a culture where it is so glorified just to be focusing on the exterior. Like, I look at so many fitness apps and competitors and study the market constantly, where it's all about client transformation. It's all about how their bodies look. And I'm not going to dilute for a second, marketing 101. Sadly, the nature is that a transformation is going to get clients in. But I would hope a client would come in on the axis of a transformation, but I would teach them that the real transformation is going to come from within, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the numbers on the scales or the way they look on the outside.
And they leave then with a far more sustainable transformation.
Yeah.
Right? It's less likely a yo-yo because they've done that inner work.
Yeah, well, they've also cultivated a life and a way of living where there is no other option but to live and to show up as their highest version of self. And I think when you recognize that prioritizing your nutrition, making sure that you're getting adequate sleep, making sure that you're moving your body every single day and focusing on your mindset, that makes you the highest version of yourself. Why would you live any other way if you're thriving in the way that you feel and look about yourself, that your family are happier, you feel in a better relationship, you might feel more sexually active with your partner, he feels more fulfilled, you have kids, you're running around the backyard with your kids, you're at work, you feel focused and everything's organized because you have got your shit together. And I think that that's what I really teach with people, that this is a way of living and a way of life. And I think that the clients that I'm building and the movement that I'm getting within this space, like, I think people are like baffled that they came in with this goal, this aesthetic goal, and they're coming out being like, no, but like, you've actually transformed my life in the way that I'm showing up and the way that I feel about myself. And that's my goal, right? Yeah.
I often think it's changing a perspective of, they always say you can't pour from an empty cup.
True.
And most people then think, oh, well, I'll pour into myself, I'll invest into myself, and then I can pour into others. I actually don't like that either.
Yeah.
I like the idea that we're pouring into ourselves so much that the overflow is actually filling up others' cups.
Yes.
And the ripple effects throughout our lives when we do that is transformational.
It's just immeasurable. Like, if you feel good and at peace with yourself, it's like, if you went out and you were going out for dinner and you dressed up and you did your hair and makeup and you felt like an absolute queen, like you felt absolutely amazing. You walked into the room and you had your shoulders back and you felt incredible, versus when you walk into the room and you haven't done, like, and for some people this wouldn't matter, but for the majority of females, the way that they look and the way they show up to the world makes them feel incredible. Yeah. And you walked into a room and you didn't feel good about it. Like, it's a different thing. Everyone's going to benefit by you feeling and looking the best version of yourself. Like, I can tell you right now, most women, if they do their hair and their makeup and they feel really good about themselves, not even the hair and makeup, or they love the outfit that they're wearing, or they have prioritized looking after themselves for that day, like, they're going to show up to the world in a very different way. They are going to be a happier person. They are going to want to, and I think it's also, that's an abundance mindset as well, right? That by them feeling abundant and good in themselves, that they can give so much to other people too.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. Like, people should feel so proud of the person. I think that's when I was talking before about self-worth being so important. Self-care is self-worth. And when you feel that you are worthy and deserving, you want to make other people feel worthy and deserving too. So 100% the overflow is more than the filling.
Yeah. I think it's an energetic thing as well. It just radiates. So you are known for your sometimes controversial, candid perspectives.
Sure.
How do you navigate criticism while staying true to your message of empowering women to be the absolute best they can possibly be?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting industry, and that's for sure. I have definitely had my moments with controversy and posts that will jar people in the wrong way. And I think I probably had the biggest learning curve with it because I really didn't offend or didn't realize I offended anyone until maybe 2023, I would say, or around that point. And I did a post calling people lazy. The post was not received well in any whatso shape or form. And in hindsight, I don't regret what I said in any whatso shape. Like what I said was maybe the video cut probably wasn't great. My ass cheeks were out quite a bit in it. Like I was in my like kind of spicy vixen stage. So the wrong maybe cuts, but it's the message I still stand by. And I got so much hate for it. It went viral for the wrong reasons. It went absolutely insanely viral. I also, from that post, was in a really toxic relationship at that time. So mentally was not in a good place to be getting something of that enormous hate. Anyone who had followed me for a really long time, plus had context for it, had no problems with it. It was just that it was caught the wrong side of like an algorithm, and it really just went massive. Like it was on radio stations. There was comedians taking fun of me, like literally being pulled to shred. I was getting death threats. I was getting people saying the most horrible things about me. There was like magazine articles. It was insane. It blew out to the most astronomically huge thing ever. And at that time, I was already crumbling, and having that amount of hate, and you just don't realize how many nasty things people can say and how creative they can be in it, that I was just like, I can't even look at this moment. I ended up just being like, no, like, you know what, you've just got to keep on sticking to your guns. So I just kept on going and I kept on posting, and I just kind of was like, you've got to stay in your lane. You've got to stay focused. But I think after that post, I realized, I have heard absolutely everything that I possibly could hear about myself at this point. I've read every nasty message I could possibly read about myself, and people can be creators if they like, but you know what, I've heard it all. And like now that I've survived that, I'm kind of like, I've got such a thick skin about it. I also had a lot of people who had been pretty like aggressively bullying me message me still to this day being like, hey, I actually wrote on that post and I said some pretty nasty things, but I've got to say that post cut through to me, and I've taken control of my life, and I have taken ownership and responsibility, and it was a complete deflection of the fact that by you calling me lazy, I recognized I actually was. And like at the end of the day, the human default is for laziness. Like anyone that's getting offended to it, you have to ask yourself, why are you getting triggered by a piece of content? And the reason that you're getting triggered is because it's actually true about yourself. It's a mirror. And so these people, people don't like being called lazy. People don't like being called that word. And I'm the first to admit I have days that I'm lazy. I have days like we're humans. It's like the easier route. Like I'm going to have those days, but I wasn't saying it to try and polarize people in that way. But anyway, after learning that, now to this day, I just don't think that there's anything that I could say that I couldn't hear something negative about. So I think that you just have to kind of know your core pillars. I think more so now, 2 years later, like I've learned a lot over that time. I think I know who I am more so as a person too. And so I know my core pillars extremely well. I know who I am and know what my message is. And if I'm not your jam in life, you can choose another condiment. Like that's not my problem. My job isn't to people please and to make people feel good about their opinions and ideas. You're so anyone's entitled and open to whatever opinion that they want to have in life. And I put it out there to open a forum and a discussion. Whether I have to agree with your opinion, maybe not. Like, well, let's have a conversation about it. But I think that anyone that's going to put themselves out into social media, you have to recognize that you're opening a forum of discussion, and people might like it, they might not like it, and it is what it is.
The perks of being online. First of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
It was an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely can show the worst and the best of people as well.
Yeah.
But credit to you that you knew yourself and you knew your heart and where you were coming from, and that, you know what, I stick by my message because it wasn't coming from a disingenuous place.
No.
It was, it was true.
It's a crazy world out there. And like anyone that you have to remember, if you want to be someone of influence, you have to recognize that if you've got a strong opinion, that means there's going to be people with strong opinions attached to that. Whether they love it and they are diehard super fans and they are loyal to the end, or they absolutely despise you, you got to have both of those sides of the coin. And when you recognize that if you've got a message and you've got a strong message in life, and you want to put it out there to the world, take the good, take the bad, and just recognize that all conversation is good conversation. And if someone's having a conversation and a debate on your page, let them go there. Like, it's like the Mel Robbins says, let them go feral, like let them do what they want. As long as my family, as long as my partner and my loved ones in my inner circle all still respect and love me, which all of the most important people do, that's all I care about.
The other thing is I speak a lot about being our authentic self.
Yes.
And when we step into who we truly are and we're really embodying our authentic self,
yes,
we become like magnets. And magnets, they attract the right people, but they also repel.
Yes.
And I've like, just to your point, when you're saying that, you're going to put stuff out there and you've got big opinions and people are going to have their own big opinions, but it's like a magnet. You're going to attract the people that need that message and who are ready to receive that message as you intended it.
Yes.
They will flood into your world, and the people that aren't the people who are meant to be on your journey right now and a part of your world, it will repel them. And that's kind of what you want, really.
I mean, at the end of the day as well, further to that is like hurt people. And if you are someone who is saying that's something that's triggering to a person that plays on an insecurity or makes them feel inferior to what their life is for whatever reason, they're going to make it their responsibility to, instead of looking at the mirror and saying to myself, why do I feel this way? It's easier to take it out on a stranger on social media than it is to take active responsibility of your circumstances. So hate it or love it, you are being lazy by not taking responsibility for your life. Why do you feel the need to sit on social media and take it out on me? Why not unfollow me? Why not remove me from your, like, if it impacts you so badly and you don't like it, remove me. And I'm such an advocate of block, delete, remove anyone from your circle that doesn't feel aligned. And I wish more people would have that awareness of self, like the stuff that you consume, what you're flooding your mind with, the opinions, all of that information. It plays such a significant role in your way of being, the way that you look at yourself, the way that you show up to the world. So if something doesn't feel aligned and good and you don't resonate with someone's message, invite only people to your table that you want to have it flooding your mind with. And like, that's a choice. Everyone's got a choice in life.
So you often stress the importance of cutting the BS excuses.
Yeah.
Is that something that you found to be really important in your own life? Is that how you approach yourself in your life?
Yeah, I think one of my core methods, my whole entire mantra of life is follow the plan, not your mood. And this is something that has become absolutely the anchor of my whole entire brand, my business, and what everybody kind of knows me for. I make a million bullshit excuses in a day. So does everybody. But you have to have that awareness of self that you're like, is this a bullshit excuse or is this like a reason? Like, what is the deeper reason for this excuse for me not to doing it? And most of the time, the bullshit excuse is self-sabotaging behavior. And people aren't aware of it because it's easier, again, to do the lazy option. It's easier to just settle for mediocrity than to recognize that their bullshit excuse is actually deflecting for the fact that they don't feel good about themselves, that they don't feel worthy of achieving their goals, and they don't feel that they can achieve it. So they just make all of these little micro excuses in the day. You need people to call you out on your shit and say, no, follow the plan, not your mood, cut your bullshit excuses and get back into it.
And do it, live up to your potential.
Yes. And that's what I think my clients, they know that they say, I guess Henny is hard words with Henny, but with a heart. So they know that I am going to be your best friend. I'm going to be the person that is cheering the absolute loudest for you always. But I'm also going to be the person that calls you out on your shit. And I will say, look, I understand. I don't not have a heart. I have all the empathy in the world for any circumstances and any hard that person is going through. But me pandering someone's emotions and giving them short-term validation and a short-term dopamine hit is not getting them to the places that they want. And it's kind of like, love it or hate it.
It's
it is what it is.
Though, I think. Honestly, I think it is quite refreshing. At least people know what they're going to get. They're going to get the truth, and they're going to get someone who's in their corner is just going to call it how it is.
And it always is coming like when I'm straight shooting. I think that's the thing that people sometimes misinterpret with me if they don't know me well. I only ever straight shoot in the best interest of that person. And anyone that's worked with me in the past or like in my career over the years know that I straight shoot everything. I literally would be like, this is the reason, this is why I think about it. And it's not meant to be offensive, like it's not meant to be hurtful. It's just that when I see it from my lens, you're asking for an opinion, you're asking for an expert opinion in a certain situation. I'm going to give it to it straight. Like it is what it is. And so I think people really get used to it. Like, that I'm always fighting for you to have a better existence or for a better product to be going to market or for things to be done better. Like, I'm only wanting the best. It's only coming from a good place.
I think that really does translate though with your social content. I love your page, by the way. I'm like, you provide so much value.
Thank you.
And you're so giving and just really high quality. Like you've made these recipes. I'm looking at these like salivating. I'm like, baked goods is my kryptonite. And you're making these cheesecake. I'm like, gosh.
Oh, the cheesecake was so good.
I'm dairy and gluten-free, but I was like, oh, this girl is just onto it. But it's not just the recipes. It's not the workouts. It's the mindset. It's all of those things. So I want to talk a bit about mindset.
Sure.
We've all experienced self-doubt. We've all experienced limiting beliefs. Can you tell me about some of the biggest mental barriers or limiting beliefs that you faced?
I feel like I've been one of those people. And I think that that's when I say at the start of the podcast about the comeback being greater than the setback. I think for a lot of my life, I have been playing the underdog in my story. And when I talk about the hero's tale, I think a lot of people will be able to sit there that I've always almost somewhat played a victim to a certain degree of my life and circumstances. And I think it's because the path has been hard. Like, it hasn't been a really easy linear path for me. And I think that your belief in self and your belief in worth, and I still to this day, like I'm building like the app of my dream. It's growing, it's scaling. It's literally a year ago, me would not believe that I'm sitting in the position that I am with the company and the way that it's scaling and everything too. But I think over the last year in particular, because I've had a lot of time working by myself, I'm used to working with teams, I'm used to working face to face with people a lot, that I've had to sit with my thoughts a lot and recognize why I tick the way that I do and why I think about myself the way that I do. And I think in my head, I'd always sort of pigeonholed myself as almost like a sidekick or like just, little Henny, like she's never going to make it, like she's never going to be able to be successful in her own right. And I had all of those same conversations that everybody else has of self-doubt and self-worth and that I don't deserve to have a seat at the table too. And something has switched, and I think it's just action. It's action cures all fear. And I think that for me over this time, even though I have felt not good enough, I haven't felt that I was worthy enough or that I could be successful or good enough, that by me taking these micro actions every single day, every single month, and turning into a year now, it's really given me confidence in self and really solidified my self-worth and how much value I actually do have to add to the world. And I want to remind anyone that's listening to this at the moment who doesn't feel worthy or doesn't feel like that they do feel like the underdog and they feel like that they're not necessarily on their hero's journey yet, that just taking action every single day, taking those little micro actions and having those moments of like, you can do it, like you've got this, it really counts. And I think the other thing to that is I'm such a firm believer that in life, you just need someone to believe in you more than yourself to give you the wings to fly. And I think that I have an incredibly supportive partner, Ryan, who literally believes in me more than I've ever had anyone believe in myself my whole entire life. He is the biggest, wildest supporter ever. I cannot even bring to words about how supportive he is on my hero's journey. And I think when you've got someone in your ear, like constantly giving you that, like, no, like, and I have days where I'm like, oh my God, I want to give it up. It's too hard. I would give up. And like, of course, when you're starting off, like I became redundant from a job role. I had to flip on a company. That was my livelihood. That was everything. I've had moments of like such dark, like, oh my God. And I listened to a podcast the other day even talking about when entrepreneurs are starting, it's lonely.
Yes, it is.
It's a crazy lonely journey and people don't talk about it enough because you're not showing it on social media and no other entrepreneurs. But when you're starting a new chapter in existence, I've cut so many friends from my existence, from my group that don't align with who I am as a person anymore. I completely changed career in terms of like my flow, my routines, my structures and everything. You become really isolated. You sit with your thoughts a lot and it is a really hard slog and you're not going to feel like your self-worth. You're not going to feel like incredible about yourself. But yeah, something pivots. And if you've got someone that believes in you more than you believe yourself, just constantly cheering you. And I think that's, I guess for me with my app as well, that became one of the core pillars for Feel Good Naked too, that I want to be the person that gives wings to my clients. I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. I push them and say like, no, you can do this. Like you've got this. And sometimes all it takes is just someone in your corner. And I think for a lot of people, they don't have families that are supportive. They don't have spouses. They don't have friendship groups. They don't have people that are supportive. Like make it your mission to align yourself with people that can support you and give you the wings to fly. Everyone needs some sort of level of accountability. Everyone needs someone to just be like, you can do this, you've got this. And like, you don't have to do it alone in life. Like, you don't have to be by yourself, and you don't have to do this solo journey. We're meant to be in tribes. We're meant to be around people, and we're meant to be around people that are pushing us to do so. Yeah. So yeah.
I love that. I love everything that you just said. Having a supportive network, and especially even if it's just one person.
All it takes is one person. Yeah.
And in this day and age, let's not forget the fact that a lot of people are spending time online, and that's okay. If you are somebody who doesn't have family around you,
yes.
and maybe you don't have as many friends around you at the moment,
yeah.
that's the season that you're in, that's okay. There's wonderful other connections that can be made. You can have coaches, mentors,
yes.
you know, there's online communities. There is really positive places online as well to help be that support network to get you there. So you don't have to do it alone.
And I think the 2020, so COVID era, actually was the turning point of our society becoming, and the stats and the data behind it in the current day of loneliness and people feeling isolated and by themselves is the highest it has ever been, because people have become so connected to become disconnected. And that's the downfall of humanity at the moment. Humans are designed to be in tribes. We are designed to have support network. We are designed to have people around us. We are designed to have people supporting us, whether it's like you're a single mom and you're trying to do it by yourself. Like, that's hard. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to do it it's hard. If you're starting your weight loss journey and you don't have supportive people and like your family, and like, it's hard. So you need to make sure the most important factor for any person starting whatever journey, think about the tribe that's around you. You're going to have days where you're not motivated. You're going to have days when you don't feel like showing up to the world, and you're going to have days where you want to give up. You need to make sure your tribe is there to be like, hey, where are you? Hey, what's going on? Like, what's happening? What can I do to help you? What can I do to make your life better? And if you're doing that for other people too, which I think is the most important, it should be if you're giving back and to other people in those communities and those areas too, you'll get it back tenfold too. Like, that's just the nature of it.
100%.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So tell me about the times where you felt like, you know, this is a bit too hard. Am I going to get through this? Should I be giving up? Is this just not meant for me?
Yeah.
Tell me about an experience like that, and how did you get through that?
I'm the type of person that never asks for help. I never ask for financial support. I never ask for anything from anyone. I've had so many moments in life where I should have asked for help and just been, and I think that's just a pride thing. I think that I've always been brought up that we carve our own way. Like, from the very first day that I could be working, I've been working. Like, I'm never going to dilute. I came from a very privileged background. I've had an incredibly supportive, amazing family unit, but we worked for it from day dot. When I was running my gym in Adelaide, I had an accountant make a pretty bad mistake, which meant that I had to make $60,000 in 3 months. And I made the money, and that's when I closed the gym and stepped away from the gym. And that's when I stepped away from personal training and went into the digital sphere for working for Lauren Simpson and for that whole different chapter of life. Probably should have asked for some help at that time and asked for people around me. But I was like, I've always been like, I put myself in that position. Like, I have to get myself out of it. But like, even just recently, well, not recently, when I first became redundant, I wasn't necessarily financially saving to becoming like fully redundant within that space. I needed a new website. Like, I needed like finances for it. And I've never asked for anyone. And then Ryan just was like, nah, I'm putting the money in the account. Like, you're going to do it. You're going to go after your dream. Because at that point I was like, I'm going to have to get a job on the side to start building this out, to get a new website built, and for all of that stuff. Obviously, that's a significant chunk of money, especially in the digital with the app and the back end and stuff too. It just costs money. And I didn't even ask for it, and he did it. That was, again, that moment of just like someone believing in me and being like, he's like, you can pay it back, like, but you just need to do this. I'm doing this. I think just for me, when you're feeling so alone and so isolated at that point, and you're so like, am I even doing the right? Just having that person just be like, no, you're doing this, you're going into it. That was a moment for me. It was really hard. Like, I don't ask for money for people. I don't like owing people anything. I don't like feeling like that. But it was one of the circuit breaker moments for me that was just like, no, you can do this. You've got this. Like, keep on going. And so, yeah, I think that asking for help when you're a really proud person is a hard skill to do. But I think more people need to ask help for. And that's like what I was saying before about having community, having people around you. Like, it's okay that you're not perfect. It's okay that like you're trying new things and you need help and you need support around you, whether that's financial, whether that's mental, whether that's for whatever reason. Like, it's okay to be human and lean into the people around you, like, be authentic. And I think that was the first time Ryan saw me cry. I was standing in the kitchen and I was bawling my eyes out. He's like, let me fix this. I was like, no, like you're not fixing it. He's just like, let me fix this.
It's like, I don't want you to fix it. I want to fix it, but also thank you. And thank you for holding me in the way that I need. And at that point it was financial, but it sounds like you have people around you that, whether it was financial, emotional, like anything that you need, they're going to hold you in that space to help you soar, spread those wings.
And I think that people are so proud of themselves too, for whatever reason. And I think that's why people mentally struggle a lot too in this day and age, is because they don't lean on the people that are around them. They don't tell people their hards or say like, I'm really struggling, and just like vent it out, hash it out, have that conversation, because we have this idea that we have to be these perfect people. And social media has conditioned us to look at social media and these perfect lives and these perfectly curated things, like where you don't see other people going through hard. So you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the outcast. You don't want to be the loser. You don't want to be the person asking for support. And I think for me, again, in my journey of this year, I've learned that about myself, that like it's okay to ask people for help. And like even Ryan helps me now with like the website build and stuff. He's really tech savvy. So on the weekends, he'll help me out with stuff in terms of like scaling the business model and things like that. I don't ask him. He just does it now. But like he wants it to grow just as much. Like we want to be, for it to be us and like our future and everything too. So yeah, I think it's okay to ask people for help. I think it's okay to, and like even with weight loss journey, I think that that's why like a lot of people start these New Year's resolutions. They try and do it by themselves. They have no support. They have no accountability. Like you've done this a million times before and you haven't been successful. Like maybe it's time to ask for some people for some help. Maybe it's time to get the accountability around you. Yeah. Everyone needs someone.
I think especially you touched on before saying about social media and highlight reels. Yeah. In the age of social media, I think a lot of people want quick fixes. Yes. They see it, they want it to show up in their reality immediately. And yes, sometimes that can happen. Yeah. But when it comes to the fitness and the health industry, what is your main messaging around quick fixes? Because people will get discouraged. They'll want something, and if it's not happening for them immediately, they will probably give up. Yeah. So talk to me about that.
Delayed gratification is your key to life. A lot of people come in with the idea of like, if it's a 40-day challenge or if it's a quick fix sort of like hook in, you have to recognize and you have to really explain to people that this is not a quick fix. This is a forever thing. And any goal that you're working towards in life, it takes time. And don't let social media fool you that there's a quick fix to anything. When there's gurus saying like, you can do this within 5 days, no, like that's bullshit. Like it takes time, it takes work, it takes effort to achieve the goals. If you're working towards something that you really want, your hero's journey is going to have hard things in it, and you need to recognize that.
Tell me about the habits, routines that you implement on a weekly or daily basis that help you feel your most aligned and authentic self.
A morning routine for me is super, super important. And I know that that gets so much controversy with so many different people, because they're like, not all people can do a morning routine, and not all people. You need to have routine and structure. And whether that is a 5-minute morning routine or whether that is a 4-hour whatever you can do with your time. Every person has a different day. Every person has different priorities and different life things. But if I don't wake up, and I'm really playing with this microphone, too many hands. If I don't wake up and I start my day with a certain flow and a certain rhythm, it will be chaos. Like if I don't exercise in the morning, I am an angry human. I am not productive. I am not focused. Like I need to do my basics. I wake up, I listen to affirmations, I do my skincare, I get myself ready, and I get into movement, whatever movement, whether that's a walk for the day, getting my ass to the gym, whatever it is. And then I get straight into creative flow work, because it's really important for me to get creative done at the start of the day. I became acutely aware of this over the last couple of months, that if I didn't do my creative work at the start of the day, I literally would be just in shambles throughout the day. So that's when I sit down, I'll do 2 hours creative flow block where everything comes out into paper, onto the laptop, not onto paper. And I think that that's really important, and that sets me up for a really successful day. You've got to figure out your protocols for your nighttime routine. How do you decompress? How do you unwind before bed? And it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It doesn't have to be 100 million steps. It just has to be the basics. In the morning, you need to have mindset, you need to have movement, and you need to have some form of self-care. Don't need to overcomplicate it. That could take you 10 minutes. It could take you 15 minutes. Like at the end of the day, you can choose what you're going to do.
But steps, right?
Yeah. Like one of my biggest things is like, if you did 10K steps a day and floss your teeth, you'll be sweet. Like, honestly, if people can start simplifying things and understanding that when you start small and you start with the real basic things, you can gradually expand on it. Like if you do 10K steps every single day and you floss your teeth every single day, you'll recognize that you can do habits and you can be compliant to something. Now you can further expand on that and you can keep on adding to that and keep on building to that. But it's like very much the atomic habits of habit stacking and building up those habits instead of overwhelming yourself with these multi-complicated, I need to transform my life overnight, I need to do a million things. Strip it right down, focus on the basics, tick off the non-negotiables every single day, do 1% better on the non-negotiables every single day. And before you believe it, that 1%'s turned to 100% and your life is transformed.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect. The first domino falls, the little steps, and then it's just this.
It's just the momentum effect. You need. You just need that little circuit breaker. You just need that little moment of like, I can do this, and that's the self-belief and the self-worth, and then that further expands and you keep on expanding, and before you know it, you're showing up and being a very different person to the world. And I think when I started my app and people doing the 30-minute workouts, and they recognize they can do 10 minutes, they can do 30 minutes, but they just have to tick the box. As long as they tick the box, that's all I care about.
I want to talk about confidence because online, your presence, you're very confident.
Yeah.
You show up. And you show lots of aspects of your life.
Yeah.
How did you develop confidence?
I don't believe in confidence. I believe in courage, straight up. I don't believe that there's confidence in life. I think there's a very rare portion of humans that are confident and have complete fearless self-belief, self-worth. And I've met a couple of them. But in the most part, most people are terrified, but they've got courage. And I'm not a confident person whatsoever. Wow. I am a courageous person, is at the root of who I am as a person. And I think when you change the narrative that you have to be working towards confidence and you make it that I should be working towards courage, the confidence is a byproduct of the courage. And so all you need to have is that fleeting moment of like, I don't want to do this. I'm terrified. I don't want to show up. I don't want to go into this. And just being like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. That's how you build confidence. And that's how you, show the facade of being a confident person. I still have so many moments of like not feeling confident going to do things. But I think from a very, very early age, I have been able to flip that switch and put that courage flip on. Like, I think that that's a really important thing for people, that if you can do that, if you can change that, and if you can go into situations and be terrified to go and do it, that's how you build confidence. So don't worry. All of us are just as scared. Whenever things I'm just like, oh, like this is like stress. Like, I don't know if I want to do it. No one's going to die. Like, unless you're a surgeon or you're someone in a higher position of like, God, I don't know how they do it. But in that position, what you're doing, and it's such a drop in the ocean in the big scheme of things. And unless you start putting yourself out there and unless you start showing up and being courageous in certain things, you will never be able to harness your true potential. Yeah. If you want to just hide behind a rock for the rest of your life, like, that's fine. You're settling for mediocre. I can't help you. But if you want to live a life to fulfillment, you just have to recognize that you're going to be terrified to do things. You're going to fail at things. You're going to be terrible at things. And you're going to have a first time like everybody else has a first time at doing things. And don't compare your day one to anyone else's day 1 million, and just focus on where you're going, focus on your stepping stone and your starting point, and just say, F it.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. There's probably a lot of people listening who are feeling a bit stuck, overwhelmed, frustrated about their current life.
Yes.
Going back to what you were saying before around taking just that one small step.
Yeah.
If someone's feeling like that at the moment, what is the first step you would advise that they take?
Just start. Honestly, just start for whatever element that you are working towards, whether that's relationship, career, lifestyle, training, whatever. Start, and don't think that it has to happen overnight. Again, this is the delayed gratification. You don't just have to snap your fingers and expect for things to transform. Just start your day one today. And don't wait for next Monday. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Like, remove the idea of perfection from the equation and focus on just starting. And it could be, you know what, I'm bringing a pen to paper and I'm putting my goals and ideas down. That's your stepping stone. The next day, okay, I'm going to make a plan for it. Like, just focus on those 1% every single day. Focus on just starting. And again, that's the momentum. That's how you're going to get it. And if you don't know where to start and you're sitting there and you're like, I am so lost right now. I have no idea who I want to be. I have no idea what I want to do. I don't even know who I am. Start throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, go to different events, like start connecting with different people, start putting yourself into different situations, say yes, become a yes girl to opportunities. And there's going to be things that you hate and you don't want to do it. And you're like, that's just not for me. But you're also, by doing things you don't want to do in life, you're going to learn what you do want in life. And I think a lot of my careers and past jobs have taught me that sort of thing. And that's the same go with anyone trying to find themselves. Sometimes you have to get so lost in life to really find who you are as a person.
I love that because I find a lot of people put pressure on themselves to have it all figured out.
Yes.
To have all of the answers. But sometimes knowing what you don't want is just as powerful as knowing what you do want.
I think it's, if not more important. And like even something that I used to do when I was really, really feeling lost is I just get big art books, and then in the center I'll write something and then mud map it out. And it could be lifestyle, and then you write down for lifestyle maybe all the things that you don't want for your lifestyle, and you're like, I don't want to live this place, I don't want to feel this way. But there's always going to be a counterpart to I don't want to feel this way, I don't want to do that. And each day you working and asking yourself those questions and expanding on those ideas, you'll realize that all of those little pieces are creating a pretty clear picture for you for what you exactly want. And that's how you start figuring out your greater path and your greater linear path. And also don't be afraid to be vulnerable with yourself. I think a lot of people are so scared of what people would think, and particularly people in bad relationships or careers and things like that too, like we were talking at the start of the podcast. Remove other people's expectations, remove the expectations of yourself that you put on yourself, and recognize that it's okay not to feel okay, but it's not okay to not do anything about it. So what can you do in this right now to start figuring out who do I want to be and what do I want to show up to the world?
Beautiful. Beautiful. For all my clients listening, beautiful. I love that. The mud map and putting in the center of it the things that, what do I not want?
Yeah.
That's, and beautiful for people who just need to write it out. You know, we do live in a tech age, but I mean, I personally love just scribbling on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
It just makes such a difference.
The art book 100% was a huge thing for me. Like you get the big ones, like and just colored textures and things to make it aesthetic. And I used to sit down at the beach and I was lost. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I felt like I had so many different pieces going everywhere. At that time, I was working full-time for Rare Collective, but I knew deep down I really wanted to do things, but I felt that there was people's opinions. I felt like, have I left it too late in life? And there were so many things that were swirling in my head about what it should be. I still have the video of the moment that I did a mud map and I discovered Feel Good Naked in my thing. And I've got this, I found it the other day and I sat there and I was like, oh my God, I've got it. Like, I know what I want to do. Yeah. It was all the different things like pushing together, like within that space as well. It's okay to have like not clarity about what you want, and it's okay to feel lost, and it's okay to feel not okay. Like I was saying, you just need to give yourself the time, the space, and the patience that it might take time, and it might take a year. It could take a month. It could take a week. Just allow yourself whatever time and grace you need to get there, and remove the ticking time clock of humanity and remove time from the equation, and just focus on what's within your control. Yeah.
I love that. So speaking of clarity, you're currently in the middle of a 6-week program. Yes. I know doors are closed at the moment, but there's maybe a wait list. You've got lots going on with your social media. Tell us, what's happening in your world? What should we be keeping an eye out for?
So the next one will be another challenge. So I do challenges within cycles. And I guess for me, the cool thing is like every update of the app and like the growth of the app means that better customer experience, better client experience, and then more recipes, more like accountability pieces. Further expanding community is a really big thing for me at the moment. Again, like what we're talking about, feeling human interaction. So one of my core focuses is how I can bring community even closer together, build relationships with people within the community. The girls are amazing. Like even tomorrow, the girls are meeting up in Sydney and they've organised to go and get coconut mugs together. Like one's flying in from New Zealand, like the most incredible community. And I think that I've made it such an important factor for my brand. It's all within app. They're all amazing. But I just want to keep on building that. Like, I don't want people to feel alone anymore. And I'm making my core mission as much as I can to bring people together and keep on expanding on that.
I love that. And yeah, like I said, I'm a fan of your content. It's there's so much value. So tell us, where can we find you online?
So you can find me at Henny_Moody is probably the main place on Instagram. And then you can find me on the app at feelgoodnaked.co. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I knew that we would have the best conversations, even though we only met so briefly.
Yes, it was written in our stars.
I know. And the synergies in our lives.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.